there it is. I'll just start the audio here too. Doing it live just for something different. Why not? Quicker. Don't have to upload it. Jim Rowan, how you going? It is the 24th of October, 2021, and I just got an email. And this week is the... Let's close that. Is Saurus and the G1 Climax. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I hope that fan doesn't cause us any audio issues. I think I remember it being a problem before. I might turn it off. Hold on a sec. It's probably going to mean I end this in just drenched in sweat, but it's an old t-shirt anyway, who cares? Alright, well, we shall start with, oh no, not that one, I've passed that here. On the 18th, Yokohama Budokan was the final A block matches. Satoshi Kojima versus Grado Khan was the opener. Khan won with an eliminator after about 10 minutes. After the match, Kojima says he ended his own personal G1 at 2-0, 0-2. So he lost both matches, but he praises both of his opponents. Khan says the talk about him and his group has changed in a small space of time and only a little bit of work, basically just referring to, and I mean, that's true. The United Empire kind of came in as, they were looking like they'd just be mid-carders, and not to say that they're not still mid-carders, but he and Cobb definitely had very impressive tournaments, so, even without Ospreay and Hinari being away, just them two being there, they've really elevated that group. And according to Khan, it was only with a little bit of work, so there you go. In Block A, though, Toru Yano defeated Tomohiro Ishii with a low blow and a roll-up, and he cries out after the match saying, "Fighting Ishii's like fighting a rock. No, a boulder. No, a meteorite." Yujiro held on to Shingo Takagi's legs to get them both counted out. So they both get a point out of that. And that puts Shingo only 1 point ahead of the other guys that he's yet to wrestle, or the other guys that are yet to wrestle. So, disappointing result for him. But he wasn't that mad backstage. He said, he was kind of speechless. He's like, what can I say? He says, Yujiro's trouble for him in Yokohama. He doesn't want to face him there again. I didn't go back and look up what exactly he was referring to, but obviously he's had troubles with Yujiro in Yokohama before. And Yujiro asks Peter if Shingo was angry, and she says yes, because he was angry after the match. He was banging on the mat and stuff, but not so much backstage. I guess he'd kind of just gotten over it. There might be a buffering issue, apparently. Stream health is poor. Is it because I turned the fan off? Looks like it should be fine to me. Dunno. Whatever. I mean, does it really matter if this is working or not? Okay. Tangaloa and Zack Saber Jr. So the upsets continue here. Tangaloa somehow keeps Zack down for the 3 count after they were pinning each other, or attempting to pin each other back and forth. So that knocks Zack out of the running. He already had a loss to Kenta, I think. Yeah, I don't know if this is back yet or not, but yeah, now he's definitely out of the running. Zack says backstage, it's all gone Pete Tong, which I had to look up because he said that a couple times now. It's a British film about a DJ that loses his hearing and then figures out how to start making music again. Zack knows that people want him to go crazy and to have a tantrum, but he's keeping calm despite being very disappointed to be out of the tournament. He is expecting Tangaloa, or he was expecting Tangaloa to be tough, but not for him to be smart as well. So he has one last G1 opportunity to make fun of Naito that he takes, and he does also say that his only chance now is if everyone gets sick, so he hopes everyone has diarrhea. But he's not he's not taking nothing away from this tournament because, of course, he beat Shingo, so he's got a world title match to cash in, and he's still the tag team champion, so he's happy with that. And Tangaloa comes back to backstage, and he's just been a pure babyface this entire tournament. He's just proud to have been in the tournament, happy to end the tournament with a win, and just grateful to have been a participant in it. So pretty easy to like him from that. I've just quickly gone through those matches because they weren't necessarily that that Zack Saber Jr. Tangaloa match was alright, but the main event, Kenta versus Kodabushi, is a different level, I think, fair to say. So plenty of furniture involved in this one. Apparently the stream still sucks, but I don't know what to tell you. I hope it improves. Perhaps a reason I won't do this again. Okay, well, there's, as I said, weapons, chairs. They go out into the arena in this match. Ibushi sets Kenta up on a table at one point, but then on the outside of the ring, and then Ibushi is going up to the top rope to jump down on him, but the table half collapses. So Kenta's kind of just lying on the floor, more or less, and Ibushi thinks, well, I'm already up here, I may as well still jump down, and then just thuds down on top of Kenta, because he may as well have not been on a table. There's no buffer there. It was a heavy landing. And then Kenta kicks out of the first Kamigoye, so Ibushi pulls down the knee pad, but doesn't hit another one before there was game over first. Has Ibushi in trouble for a while, the crossface, but he makes it to the ropes, and then Kenta dodges another Kamigoye, and kind of almost like, the bull, what are they, Matador? Ibushi uses Ibushi's momentum against him, pushes him into the exposed turnbuckle, rolls him up, nearly gets him. I think he beat Ishii like that, and but Kota Ibushi kicks out, and I'm looking at the wrong place here. He hits his Busaiku knee, Kenta does, for 2, and then he goes for the GTS, but Ibushi catches it, he hits a flying knee, and then he hits, of course his knee pad's still down, he hits a reverse Kamigoye to the back of the head, hits one to the front, see you later Kenta. Ibushi wins to secure his place at the top of A block and enter his 4th G1 final in a row, a new record. Ibushi says after the match he has the chance to win the G1 again and he won't let the chance slip. Backstage, Kenta says that he told us Ibushi was crazy, or Ibuko as he calls him. He's insane in so many ways, but then Kenta's like, well, I'm 40, I've got purple hair, and I've been obsessed with a bow star for months, so maybe I'm the craziest one after all. And then Ibushi says backstage, it's not over, but he tells whoever wins B block to bring it on. Alright, so that brings us to B block, the final night of it, on the 20th in Nippon Budokan. The opener was Bushi and Hiromu defeating the Young Lions, Kosei Fujita and Ryohei Oiwa. And after the match, Hiromu recalls being a young lion himself and being told fire and passion is all he needed, but that was never enough. He wanted to win, and he tells these young lions they are lucky to fight in this venue this early in their career, and they should use that toward their future somehow. And then we had another promo from the band that performed Max the Max, the theme song for the G1, and they looked rather mature as performers, but they were very excited to have performed the song. One of them said that he was really happy. One of them was that the audience knew the song and they were singing along. But I mean, I didn't watch this, but they can't be singing along. They're not even allowed to cheer. So I don't know what he was hearing, but they seemed very nice. To the B block, Yoshihashi defeated Chase Owens. Owens backstage says that's 2-7 for him, not what he wanted, but he did manage to beat Tanahashi and Tai Chi, 2 champions. So he thinks back and he recalls Kenta beat Zack. So he thinks that they should challenge for the tag titles together. And then, of course, he's got his shot at Tanahashi's US championship. So looking good for the Texas champion. And Yoshi talks about how he still holds the 6-man titles, but he wants to hold others, the tag team championship in particular. So he's going to be entering the World Tag League, plans to win that, and then the titles as well. Hirokogoto defeated Tama Tonga, and Tama remembers them being partners together, him and Goto, in the World Tag League. But things have changed, and he thinks that perhaps he's surpassed Goto at this point. He says that he entered this G1 to show himself to be the best foreign talent, and he calls himself, this is Tama Tonga, the foreign ace. So the G1's done. Who you with? He says again. He seems to like to sign off promos with that. Goto realized throughout this tournament, this is Goto speaking, he realized throughout this tournament that he's getting the most out of life, which is just wonderful to hear, Goto. And despite the poor results, he's not going to whine about it. He's still a champion and he will continue forward with his heart on his sleeve. Okay, the next one was a good match. Tai Chi versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. And it starts with a backdrop driver from Tai Chi. And that earns a 2 count. So he's not mucking around. The pants come straight off. He goes for Black Mephisto. But he's bandaged up around his torso. So that might have been part of the motivation for him being so urgent and aggressive, is that he wanted the match to be over quickly because he didn't think it could last long. But yeah, when he goes for Black Mephisto, his torso kind of gives out and he has to let Tanahashi down. Tanahashi comes back with leg holds amongst his other common offenses. Tai Chi becomes the underdog, fighting from behind and selling the ribs the entire time. Tanahashi locks on the cloverleaf, and that caused Tai Chi a lot of trouble, but he made it to the ropes. The doctor wants a word with him at this point. Tai Chi goes, he tries to come back, he goes for another backdrop, but it's countered into a sling blade. However, Tai Chi powers up out of it and does hit the second backdrop driver. And then he hits a thrust kick right in Tanahashi's mouth for 2. He goes close to completing the Black Mephisto, but Tanahashi's out again and hits a proper sling blade this time for 2. He goes for the high fly flow. It lands to a standing Tai Chi, but he misses the next one. Tai Chi pounces on Tanahashi with the Gato clutch and picks up the pinfall victory with that. And I really enjoyed this match. I think it's up there with, it could even be a top 10 in the tournament. I really enjoyed it. Ton of action, didn't overstay its welcome, great selling, and, didn't follow the normal course of a match. And it made sense that they didn't. Tai Chi, we'll see what he has to say here in the comments, but, whether it be to do with his injury or just the fact that he knows he's out of the tournament and he's angry about it. He also could see Tanahashi as an opportunity to get, obviously here with the win, he's earned himself a US championship match if he wants to pursue it. So a chance for him to prove himself again. But to the comments, Tanahashi says he's in a slump despite being in good physical condition. He ends the tournament in the negative as a champion, so he's unhappy about that. He wonders if he's lacking in passion for pro wrestling. He says maybe that's what Tai Chi had more of, which is not something people would often admit to lacking in compared to Tai Chi. But such is the dramatic nature of Tanahashi. Having said that, though, Tai Chi's feeling pretty dramatic. He says he's proud, but I think he's being a bit sarcastic, of being a 3-6 loser, is how he describes himself. There are steps to becoming a Yokozuna, though, and complete devotion and courage is needed. And that's interesting to hear from him because, I think I talked about this in the last podcast. That's what Tai Chi, he gets in his own way. He doesn't have complete devotion, and courage, like he's kind of scared to be made a fool of. So he does things like this, like kind of making fun of himself before someone else can make fun of him, or like just pretending he's not trying in matches so it doesn't seem like a real victory for the other person, or it's like that he's better than the other person, but he doesn't have the courage to truly try and see if he can win the match sometimes. So those are interesting comments from him. I don't necessarily predict that much will change, but that's not all. He does say as well that his sumo level doesn't require a valet, which Miho didn't really react to, but she was there. And he's kind of saying that he might get rid of her or tell her to stay home. And then he also said that he needs a break and that he's going to submit that request to New Japan management. So there is another tour before, the Power Struggle tour before. Okay, I thought something might have changed on the stream, but it still doesn't like it. There's the Power Struggle tour before the World Tag League. I would hope he's back for the World Tag League because, currently there's a champion of the tag division. So we had two more matches here, also very good matches. Sonata versus Evil. Early on, Evil decides this match isn't worthwhile and he starts to leave, but Sonata brings him back and starts the match actively before Evil runs off again. Togo causes a distraction, of course he does, and back comes Evil. He smacks the chair he hung around Sonata's neck and would be happy to let his former partner be counted out, but there is an urgency with Sonata, and that's what this match needs. I remember, I think it was the first singles match they had against each other when they broke up, and I just didn't feel like there was a lot of urgency from Sonata. He's the babyface that's been turned on. It's up to him to have that urgency. But there was more of it in this match. And he's happy to include Togo in a Paradise Lock party. It's not the last time Togo gets involved, of course, but Sonata perseveres. He never seems to complain about it. He locks in a skull end. He tries a moonsault. He hits Evil's knees. Evil's not interested in any test of fighting spirit, which I like. I hate it for his matches because he used to be great at that stuff, but it wouldn't be in character for Evil to participate in a battle of fighting strength, or test of fighting spirit. Like, he doesn't care. He just wants to win. He takes out the referee, Evil. Togo comes back in. Sonata reverses their attempt at a magic killer and uses Togo himself to hit a magic killer on Evil. Not, the same way Evil sometimes uses the referee without the referee really participating. Sonata just kind of popped Evil's legs up on Togo and used him. So that was kind of funny. But when he goes back to the skull end, Evil manages to hit a low blow. Sonata gets him one back though, hits a low blow himself, goes for the O'Connor roll, and he would have had Evil if it weren't for Togo pulling the referee out. So the count stopped. Then Togo enters with the garrote. Sonata manages to avoid that, and then he avoids a chair from Evil at first, but then Evil comes back with it, hits him with it at the second attempt. And then Everything is Evil ends proceedings. This was for an Evil match, this was pretty good. I'm not always even a fan of Sonata matches, so the fact that together they had a good match, I'm pretty happy with. I would have liked Sonata. He actually references this a little bit in the comments. Sonata says he calls it a total loss, and no matter the tactics, he wasn't able to outsmart Evil. So that's exactly what I was thinking about after this match ended. If anyone should have, let me finish the sentence. If anyone should have a way to kind of get around Evil's tricks, it should be Sonata. Like, he should know Evil through and through. And I would actually like that'd be a cool story if, everyone gets overwhelmed by Evil and his crappy tactics, but Sonata's the one that can beat him, because Sonata kind of knows what Evil's thinking and can always predict it. And I think that'd be a cool dynamic, because Sonata's so like cool and collected that he can almost do it nonchalantly, and that really gets under Evil's skin and causes him to be more aggressive and make mistakes. And Sonata, just in that rivalry, kind of is the one to get on top the most often, whereas Evil might have more success generally. Sonata's always that one that he can't get past, which for Sonata fans might be, I don't want Evil to have the heavyweight title again, but that might be a way to get it on Sonata, if that were a story, but it's clearly not. Sonata lost. And Evil says he brought it on himself, that this is the house of torture. Remember that. So the main event, Jeff Cobb versus Kazuchiko Kada. Winner takes it all. Doesn't take it all, but goes to the final. And Cobb's ruthless when it comes to the tour. And I like his psychology there, that he goes for it as soon as it makes sense to. He doesn't succeed though. He ducks a Rainmaker, he hits a German, and then lands not one, but two tombstone pile drivers. This is Jeff Cobb. He hits Okada with the pile driver, and then he just lifts him straight up and lands it again. That was kind of cool. And then he poses in the Rainmaker style. He goes for the tour again, only to cop a spinning Rainmaker. Okada goes for the Rainmaker again, but Cobb fights it off with kicks, then eats a drop kick himself. The money clip's locked on, but Okada never looks comfortable trying to control Cobb. So he switches to a tombstone and nails that. But yeah, he just like that. He could lock it on wherever it goes, the money clip. But he okay. There's a matchup. There's just other matches. I don't want to spoil things as I go. There's just other matches in which Okada can use that money clip to really control people. Like sometimes he kind of drags people around with it and stuff. And it just was clear that he couldn't control Cobb with it. He was kind of similar to how he was uncomfortable with it, similar to how Tanahashi was with the Cloverleaf. And I kind of like that about Cobb. Like he's almost not immune to submissions, but it's just hard to keep it on him. He's just too big and thick and strong, and it's an interesting defense when he might not necessarily have technical submission defense skills. He's got power submission defense skills. So with Cobb down after the tombstone, now the money clip has greater effect. When Cobb was sitting down, he's able to lock it in better. And then they're connected at the wrist. They trade counters back and forth. That was really good, this part. Okada's knees get caught on the turnbuckle after a drop kick off it. That was a bit awkward. I don't know if that was on purpose or not. Red Shoes had to free him. And then Cobb lifts him back inside the ring, and he was trying to do a super tour of the islands, but Okada reversed it into a super DDT instead, which wasn't pretty, but the sell was good. And I'll give Cobb credit for that. Okada then goes for the tombstone. He ends up having to avoid a tour of the islands tour for what must be the 5th or 6th time by now. Like, Cobb's just not spamming it, but he's like keen on catching it. Okada hits the landslide, hits the Rainmaker, and wins the match that way. I really like this match too. Might be Cobb's best match of the tournament, although we did have a couple pretty good ones. But this is another match I would, if someone asked, this would probably be top 15, I'd say. If not top 10. Okada takes questions backstage after thanking the fans in the ring. He recognizes he's got little time to prepare for tomorrow, but he tells the fans to stay hyped. Didn't say too much, but this is how we end those blocks. So in block A, on 14 points and top of the block is Kodabushi. On 13 points was Shingo Takagi. Kenta and Zack Saber Jr. ended on 12 points. Yano and Ishii ended on 10 points. Grado Khan on 8 after such a strong start. In fact, he just had one of those tournaments of two halves. He won all his first matches and lost all his end matches. Tangaloa picked up a decent 6 points, and Yujiro beat his own record with 5 points. Last year he just had 2 points. Naito, of course, only had 0 points because he just only completed one match and he lost it. The B block had a tied finish on 16 points, but Okada goes to the final ahead of Cobb due to having beaten Cobb in their head-to-head match. Evil on 14 points. Tanahashi and Sonata on 8 points. Goto, Yoshi, and Tama and Tai Chi all ended on 6 points, and Chase Owens at the bottom on 4 points. So that is how the G1 Climax 31 blocks went, and that brings us to the final. I don't know if this is working or not, whatever. It'll be a podcast. If it doesn't show up on YouTube, it'll be in the audio spaces. Also in Nippon Budokan the next night, 21st of October is where we are, 3 days ago. Kosei Vegeta and Ryohei Oiwa faced El Desperado and Kanemaru, the junior heavyweight champions, tag champions, and it was a double leg crab from Kanemaru on one of those guys. I don't know. They look pretty similar because they have to wear the same thing, and they both had to shave their heads or buzz their hair. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen too much of them. So one of them lost to Kanemaru. And they're both, the other thing is they both seem pretty similar backstage. They're both frustrated. They're both ambitious. They both seem to think that they could be winning matches, which is good. I guess you wouldn't want them coming back and being like, all right, that's cool. Got another loss. Expected that. No problem. Despy and Kanemaru joke about the young lions before moving on to talk about championships. They're fielding a challenge from ELP and Ishimori, of course, for the tag titles, and Despy has his challenge of the junior heavyweight champion Robbie Eagles, and he just kind of says that the man makes the belt, not the other way around. That was Despy. There was Grado Khan and Jeff Cobb versus Toru Yano and Yuji Nagata. And Khan's trying to make an example out of Yano, but he pays for it when the referee just glances away, and it was just for a moment, but it was the only moment necessary for Yano to swiftly pop Khan in his eliminators, in his dominators, and a beautiful single leg rolling cradle only adds insult to injury for the serious grappler, because he and Yano did a bit of serious grappling in the match. But it's a strange one that Yano pins Khan after they had such a good tournament, and this is just like a joke match kind of. But yeah, so I was not really very happy with that. Backstage Khan, he's got that crazy look on his eye. He wants a rematch for the King of Pro Wrestling Championship, with the stipulation being that the loser licks the other's shoe. Yeah, and then Cobb comes in and he says, and he does this a lot, he says, I've got nothing cool to say, I don't know what to say, and then he goes on to still yammer on for a couple of minutes. And I really think, Cobb, that you should have a think about what you're going to say after these matches, because after that great tournament that he's just had, like, we know he can do it physically, this is what's lacking, is the promo. So I would strongly suggest to you, Jeff Cobb, to maybe come up with something cool to say after a match, so that maybe you can be one of those top guys. Because, you know, I mean, after that G1 performance, he's right there, but he's not quite there because of promos like this. And then Yano just comes in and says, so lame. And Nagata comes in and says, it's great to be back. He wants to fight harder. Cool. And then Evil, Yujiro, and Sho, the House of Torture, took on the six-man champions, but not in a title match. Yoshihashi, Hirokogoto, and Tomohiro Ishii. Now, I mean, I remember thinking before this match, like, I don't know if Evil's going to win or not, but I almost want him to win. I mean, I don't want him necessarily to take the six-man titles off of Chaos, because it's been a good run, but if he wins this match, it means he's in this scene, whereas if he's not in this scene, what championship scene is he going to be in? Because he's going to be in a championship scene. So it might just be the lesser of two evils, or several evils, if, no pun intended, if he were to just be in the six-man championship title picture. But, and that's, well, it seems that's what's going to happen. Sho cracks Yoshi with a chair over the head. Everything is evil. Bang, they win it. And they go for it too. They kind of seal the deal. They'll pose over the champions with the titles, so they're definitely going to challenge for those six-man titles. Backstage, Evil sits in front of the other guys. He introduces them as the House of Torture, Yujiro, Togo, Sho, and he just tells Chaos they may as well hand the titles over. Chogi Makabe's back. Tomoaki Honma's back. Hiroshi Tanahashi and Tiger Mask, they took on Chase, Owens, Kenta, Tamatonga, and Tangaloa with Jado. And English commentary bring up Kenta's rivalry with Shibata a fair bit, but I don't think that was necessarily suspicious. I just was spoiled as to the coming events already when I watched this match, so it's hard to tell if that was a bit of a Heenan predicting Hogan's turn moment or not. I don't think so. Certainly not to that degree. Owens and Kenta are both especially interested in Tanahashi during the match, and the stuff with Owens is actually maybe like smoother, at least, if not better. It's intriguing. I still don't want to see him challenge for the United States title, but Owens, that is. But, you know, he can have a good match. I just don't think he needs to be. I mean, I'm happy for him to be the Texas champion. That's fine. Good for him. I just don't think he really needs to be involved in the US Championship picture, personally. But in this match, the Guerrillas combine to remind us of their tag team prowess. Homer and Makabe have their babyface moments on offense, though, to remind us of how great a team they once were. And then got to go back up here. Owens nails Honma, though, with the package pile driver to pick up the win, and he says he's only got eyes for the United States champion. Once he wins the match, he goes straight over to Tanahashi. He and Kenta are in a bit of a tug-of-war with the title belt, but they eventually agree together that Kenta can do the first challenge. And Owens explains this backstage. He says he'll give Kenta the gift of the shot so he can go back home to the US for a while. And Kenta actually takes the title. He has it over his shoulder in his backstage interview. He speaks in English, which is pretty good. He says he deserves the title more than Tanahashi, that he's done nothing for it. Tanahashi just has it for his own ego. And this has to be about the people and entertaining the people. So it's time that Kenta takes it. Makabe, he said he's not impressed with Bullet Club. He's been away a long time and he can match them just being back one day. So he tells Tama that he'll see him in the World Tag League. Tiger Mask, he says that it was his birthday yesterday, and I suppose that is the basis of the Junior Tag title challenge that he makes here. He says he'll be teaming up with Robbie. I think actually something like that happened they competed together in that tournament, didn't they? It was kind of that mid-year junior tag tournament. Whatever. I think I kind of remember them being together, so that's still happening. Maybe. So there's the next match. Before the next match, the Strong Spirit Tour is announced, whatever that's going to be. And then Zack walks out, and he's in a white jacket, and he's in white shorts, so he kind of doesn't necessarily look like he's in ring gear, certainly not in his usual black trunks. And the commentary team are confused. They kind of assume he's out for some kind of an announcement. But then Shibata's music hits. Katsuyori Shibata is... he comes out. Of course, it kind of sucks that the fans can't react. Like, they gasp and they clap along with the music. But, it was... I don't know. We're losing all these moments that should fill the arena with energy, but it is what it is. Now Shibata comes out in black shorts, heads for the ring. The announcer kind of lets him get to the ring before announcing it's a special singles match, a 5-minute limit, and Charlton's really excited. I mean, he's not a very experienced commentator, but you've got to love the energy he brings. Kelly asks him about the UWF rules that I think he thought applied here, but that's not what this was. It was listed on the website as a grappling rules match, so that's not what UWF is, and there was no points or anything. So, Kelly was a bit off with that, but Charlton tried to explain him anyway. So it's just kind of a shoot-style grappling match. And I really like so they both have plain shorts. As I said, Zack is white, and he's just got a little Great Britain flag on his, at the kind of bottom of his shorts. And of course, Shibata has a little Japanese flag on his, so I don't know, I like that look. It's kind of cool. And because it's only a 5-minute match, there's that minute-by-minute countdown, 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left. So that, even though this is just an exhibition match, it just added an unusual intensity to it. And it was very interesting. Shibata locked in a sleeper that takes us back to him being in the ring. but they really just they traded holds pretty aggressively until the bell ended the match. It only lasted 5 minutes. The referee raises both their arms, but Zack kind of Shibata offers a handshake, and Zack shakes his hand before leaving the ring, but Shibata stays. He wants a mic. He thanks Zack. He says next time he's in this ring, he'll be in his proper ring gear, obviously indicating that he's going to be back for a match. So that's pretty exciting. Shibata's back. We don't know when. I don't know if he's going to participate in anything before the Tokyo Dome shows. I would suspect Kenta is going to be involved. But Zack, backstage, says he's been looking forward to facing Shibata for a long time, and he lists several ridiculous competitions he would gladly enter with Shibata, including like types of Monopoly and board games and tiddlywinks and all sorts of stupid stuff. Then we had Tenzan, Kojima, Wacho, and Taguchi versus Bushi, Hiromu, Sonata, and Shingo. And this was a fun match. And the fans were really missed for it as well because, it's got a fair bit of star power. It's got that nostalgia factor to it. Kojima can fool anyone into thinking he's 10 years younger with how he moves. And any youth missing from those guys is made up by Wato's exuberance and spades. Like, he's just a little firecracker, he is. Shingo pins Tenzan after a pumping bomber to end it. Hiromu and Taguchi notably were having words after the bell, kind of a former junior race to current junior race. After the match, Wacho looks forward to Best of Super Juniors. He expects to win it. He looks forward to taking show down a notch because he thinks he made a big mistake joining the Hot Boys, HOT, the House of Torture. He didn't say Hot Boys. And he's going to stop him in his tracks because he clearly feels betrayed by Sho doing that because he says that they used to train together. And then Taguchi's upset at Hiromu for using knockoff Mongolian chops, and he will show him the difference between that and a true one. Whereas Hiromu says that he went for the wrong person. He gets carried away, that it's a bad habit. He still have fun. He's looking forward to the Best of Super Juniors. He considers wearing shorts in his matches moving forward rather than... He wears like pants at the moment. And then he says if they don't look good, then we can tweet him a video saying so. Which is rather specific, but that is a way we could let him know, yes. And then Tenzan, he didn't seem particularly pleased with his performance, but he had he has no intentions of slowing down. Kojima said something similar, and Bushi was just looking forward to Naito being back and LIJ being back together, which is super sweet, Bushi. But that brings us to the main event, Kazuchiko Kada versus Kodabushi for the G1 Climax 31 winner, to decide the winner. And they start in standard fashion, but the pace quickens to an early Rainmaker attempt that really gets the fans going. But they don't have to rush because there's no time limit on the match, like the other G1 matches. Well, actually, it might still have a 60-minute time limit. It's just not the usual G1 Climax 30-minute time limit. But they step things up. They're fighting outside the ring. There's like a dragon suplex from... Or it might have been a half and half suplex from Ibushi, and then there was a DDT on the ramp by Okada. So they're getting stuck into each other. Okada flings Ibushi back into the ring and gets a roll on. He hits a tombstone. He locks on the money clip. That is the one that I was trying to talk about before, but I didn't want to ruin the outcome of the Cobb and Okada match while I'm still talking about it. But this one in particular, I was talking about how Cobb was really hard to control with the money clip, and here Okada just like ragdolls Ibushi with it, which makes it look a lot better, because otherwise, no one's been overwhelmed with the introduction of the money clip, which was last year's G1, right? That's when this came about. And, but yeah, Ibushi makes it look good, flopping around and trying to get out of it. So he eventually does, but then the elbow lands, donk, Rainmaker pose. But of course he always misses that Rainmaker. Ibushi ducks it at the first attempt, and then Okada tries again, but this time Ibushi hits a lariat first. And then they're striking back and forth. Ibushi gets the better of that. He hits an Asai moonsault to the outside. Back in the ring, he hits a powerbomb. That gets a 2 count. He tries a Kamigoye, but Okada stops it. He tries to backslide into a Rainmaker, but he was a bit clumsy. He loses his grip, so Ibushi lands a head kick instead, and then a flying knee, and then a Kamigoye, but that only gets a 2 count. Ibushi pushes down his knee pad to expose the knee, going for the his killer Kamigoye, and he tries to set that up, but Okada counters. He tries another Rainmaker. This time it was a spinning one, but again Ibushi's quicker to the punch. Ibushi scales the turnbuckle as Charlton warns of the risks. And when Okada moves to avoid the Phoenix Splash, Ibushi lands hard. Now, I remember watching this and just thinking, oh, he landed face first. And then watching it back, you can see that his right arm gives out, and that's kind of the reason that he smashes his face on the mat. I was worried that he had a concussion, but he kind of rolled over and he grabbed his arm. He didn't seem to be out of it in that way. But then Red Shoes goes over to him, and it doesn't take long before he's like, okay, that's it. And the match is called off, which is shocking. A doctor comes in, and Okada's just sat in the corner, just kind of looking on, not really sure what to do. They still went 25 minutes, and it was still a really good match for how long it went. And I don't even think it was as anticlimactic as it probably sounds, because they still, it was toward the end of the match. Probably they wouldn't have gone too much longer. I have noticed, actually, not just in the G1, obviously they're only 30-minute matches, but I've kind of noticed main events recently, they've been dialing it back a little bit. They've been having shorter matches, closer to just kind of half an hour rather than 40 minutes or so. Okada might bring that back, though. He tends to like a longer match. But anyway, Okada's declared the winner. Ibushi's holding his wrist, but... that's what Kelly on commentary kind of, thought maybe that he'd broken his arm or broken his wrist. But what we found out afterwards is that Ibushi dislocated his shoulder. So that's the reason they had to call an end to the match. Hopefully he's back fighting fit soon, but it took him a long time to get him out of the ring, like 10 minutes. And then finally, when the ring's cleared, Okada, he's proud of his victory. He says a win's a win. His sights are set on the Tokyo Dome. He's going to become the center of the company again. He wants to face Ibushi again, but then in an interesting twist, he says that he wants to hold the 4th generation title belt as a symbol for waiting for Ibushi. And Shingo's at ringside, and they put the camera on him, and he's like, "What are you doing? Like, what, you think you're heavyweight champion?" So that was interesting, and it was. I don't think Ibushi's injuries work. So how off the cuff this promo was, I don't know. But that's cool that I question it. Backstage, surrounded by Chaos teammates, he's about to do the cheers and celebrate the G1 win, but Tamatonga confronts him to say that whatever briefcase he gets, they may as well make it the Tamatonga briefcase because he's going to be challenging and defeating Okada. And Okada kind of takes a moment to shake that off when he leaves, but then raises a bottle of Zima with his pals. He's asked again about how the win feels, and he softens a little bit. He kind of says, it's not maybe exactly how he wanted to win, but, a win, like, still a win's a win. And I guess he just kind of, the method of victory leaves questions to be answered, such as, what if Ibushi wasn't absolutely insane and just throws everything into every move he does? But then, more interestingly, he's asked about that fourth generation title, the V4 championship belt that he's said he's going to be bringing back. He says that he didn't intend to call himself the IWGP Heavyweight Champion, but since Ibushi unified it, this can be his way of showing that he's awaiting Ibushi's return, and he would rather that than a briefcase. And then he's asked if he'll challenge Shingo for the world title, and he just appears confused. He's like, why would I challenge him? He can challenge me. Okada's kind of saying, I'm the champion. So, he's kind of asked, would Shingo be challenging for the V4 heavyweight title then? And Okada doesn't really answer that. He says, well, that's the title I've always held. So he does explain a bit further that the G1 winner usually challenges at the Tokyo Dome, but Takagi is not holding the title that Okada held, and he just participated in the same tournament and lost. Shut up. Crows. And so why doesn't Takagi come challenge him? And that's an interesting point. In that the new championship, like the World Heavyweight Championship, comes with it. I mean, it's a new lineage, and it can have new traditions. So, I mean, I don't like the briefcase business. I don't like that defend the championship contract thing. I think the G1 should be its own, that should be kind of like the biggest prize of the year. And the World Championship could, kind of be second to that, because in theory you have several chances to win a World Championship during the course of a year. You've only got one chance to win the G1 Climax, and you have to win against like all the best people one after the other in a short space of time. I think the G1 Climax should be the ultimate prize in a way. And so I'm kind of on board with this idea of, it seems he doesn't, I hope they get rid of the briefcase forever. There's more on there's more on this though, because there's a press conference as well. But just before that, he's asked about Tama Tonga, and he says that he'll have to pay him back and settle it quickly, because Tama Tonga in the Tokyo Dome would not be very exciting, and he's right. And he says that that pile driver that Tama gave him made him feel more handsome and made his neck feel stronger. So he can come get it anytime, Tama Tonga. But the next day there was a press conference. Sugabayashi confirmed the dislocated shoulder by Ibushi, and they'll release more information on his recovery time when they have it. He also mentions Japanese COVID restrictions are easing, and that could change how New Japan approach their restrictions. But the only thing he mentioned was adding more matches to the cards again, which I don't want. I like the shorter cards. So I just want the noise back. That's all I need, is just the fans with the noise, with the cheering. We used to know the Japanese fans for being quiet, but now it's just ridiculous. We got to have that back as soon as possible. And then Okada enters. He says the tournament was a fulfilling experience. He views it positively despite Ibushi's injury. He's asked about the belt, which is what we all want to hear about now. And he still links it to the Ibushi. It's kind of like he wants a briefcase-like symbol for his match with Ibushi rather than a match with Shingo. Like he kind of has that unfinished business with Bushi first. And then he says the G1 winner usually gets a contract to defend. And since the chairman's here now, maybe he can approve this on the spot. So he calls Shugobayashi back into the room, and he asks him directly, like, can I have the belt instead of a contract? And Shugobayashi thinks about it for a while, like maybe nearly 10 seconds. He's just kind of, And then eventually he's like, you know what, I won't give you an answer now, but I'll consider it. And he leaves. Okada's like, cool, thanks, man. And he does say that he wants to be known as the G1 champion. So I'll actually just bring this up, because I just posted about this on Reddit. Did someone like it, just so I can find it easily? No one likes it. Alright, then I will go to comments. Okay. Just because on this, I thought about it a bit more, and I think Okada's publicly pushing his weight around, his political weight in the company, and he seems to kind of be, I think there's two motivations. He wants to be seen as a savior, not just in, you know, obviously New Japan's not been that great with the COVID stuff lately. So there's kind of that, and also just, you know, he's not been in that title picture, and a lot of people aren't happy with the world title situation and the lineage and the title belt itself going away. So he's kind of using all of that to his advantage, and using this G1 win as his chance to kind of bring some of that stuff back. So that's part of the motivation. I also think he probably just doesn't like Shingo. Like this, you know, little troll doll fella comes in from this other lesser company from years and years of experience there, and kind of, you know, just not really being on Okada's level. Okada's like the big star in the big company. And in comes this guy, beats him twice this year. It beats him to be the champion, the world champion. And Okada's just been kind of left, you know, doing nothing really until this G1 win, having matches with Cobb. So, you know, it might be a bit of jealousy and a bit of like entitlement on Okada's part. And I think he really wants to kind of make Shingo feel small by just like not mentioning him here. And maybe he was embarrassed by Shingo and he wants to embarrass Shingo back. So by declaring himself the G1 champion and having the V4 belt, he kind of is saying, you know, this is the title that I'm known for holding. This is the title that everyone associates the heavyweight championship lineage with. A lineage that Shingo does not form a part of. He's only been the world champion, not the heavyweight champion. And I think he's just stirring up all of this to kind of suggest that he's highest in the pecking order, and that Shingo should be trying to come challenge him. And I think it would get under Shingo's skin for Okada to be saying that, kind of ignoring him and saying, well, I'm better than you. Do you want to prove yourself as the best by coming and fighting me? Because I'm the best, not you. But anyway, speaking of Reddit, thank you effing Kenta, who posted this about the upcoming schedule, the Power Struggle Tour. So the Power Struggle card itself, one of the bigger events of the year, and it's looking good. We got Shingo versus Zack for the World Heavyweight Championship, Okada versus Tama Tonga for the G1 winners' rights, whatever that ends up being. Tanahashi versus Kenta for the US title, Eagles versus Desperado for the junior title, Yano versus Khan for the King of Pro Wrestling trophy, Goto, Yoshi, Ishii defending the six-man titles against House of Torture, and then there's just a couple other opener matches, but there's some notable Road to Power Struggle matches as well. There's the junior tag title match between Despi and Kanemaru against Eagles and Tiger Mask. Oh, they are getting the match. There you go. Aaron Hanare is returning. So apparently he's going to be the Empire's World Tag League team along with Khan, because Jeff Cobb's going home and Ospreay is not going to be that guy. And Nakashima, the young lion that injured his shoulder in his debut match. I thought it was his elbow, but it says shoulder here. He got injured in his first match, so that was heartbreaking. But he's going to make his return against Oiwa. So you can. That's our new little young lion trio. And Tai Chi, in line with his comments at the end of his last block match, he is taking a break. He hopefully will be back for the World Tag League. But cool, that's it. I don't know if this stream worked. I'm sorry if it didn't. No viewers, no comments. So I mean, that's not unusual though. That doesn't really suggest anything. But that's great. That was good. I think it was a really sleeper G1. There was a bunch of great matches worth going back and seeing. But I hope by the time the next G1 comes around that the fans will be in full voice. I really hope so. That's it. Thanks very much for listening. Until next time, have a good one.